What I'd like to do now is I'd like to turn it over right now to Lieutenant, please excuse me, I'm getting over a cold here and my voice is starting to go now, to Lieutenant Mike Lambert. He is I'm calling the CEO of this program. It's called Project H.E.L.P. It's a it's a very innovative program that he's put together with collaboration with a lot of other city agencies and departments to try and assist with the homeless. The problem with the homeless, taking a sort of a more unique approach to it than what we've done before. So I'm going to turn it all over to him, and hopefully I didn't mess up introducing it to you.
Thank you. So what we're having here in Honolulu is obviously the homeless crisis, well documented, talked about quite a bit. And what we had to do in District 1 is we're getting inundated with calls for service. I mean, literally from every angle, from 911 calls to the mayor's office and every which way. So initially we did what we normally do, right? We just go out, we're gonna zero tolerance and do all of that good stuff. What we found, which the public defender shared at the state homeless awareness conference, is that we gave out somewhere over 15,000 citations for homeless related crimes, such as, well, not homeless related, but things that the homeless tend to encounter, which is park closure, prohibitions, tent, and other issues. But for the same time period, we had actually an increase of 1% in Honolulu, which means that enforcement is not the only way to go about this. We actually went up 1% by really trying to dig in with saying zero tolerance. So what happened is Captain Takasaki Young sat down with me. He says, Mike, we got to come up with something because this is not working. So he says, try to go do some research, see what you come up with. So this is a collaboration of several ideas. One was just to pair with a community psychiatrist in order to just try to keep tabs on our mentally ill. And then at the same time was to try to improve our relationships with the homeless community by looking at some other projects that were going on around the nation in regards to the police working with the homeless. So this is kind of what it came up to. So I wanted to give a big thanks to Major Nagata. He was the District 1 major that really gave the green light to let it roll. And as we know in anything else, the higher the level of support, the bigger we can go. So now, thank you, Chief. So without further ado, I'll just dive right in. Okay, so the mission is to help Honolulu participants are committed to responsibly facilitating resources through partnerships and unified strategies that are focused on providing improved services to Honolulu's at-risk homeless community. So that's a long-winded way of saying is we're going to make friends with the homeless community, we're going to make friends with the outreach services that are already in place, and we're going to try to all be on the same page so that we're not being inefficient, we're not making improper referrals, and we're utilizing the services as they're meant to be used. So the H, health, providing services that improve the response to the physical, mental, and emotional needs of Honolulu's at-risk homeless population. This is what makes it so difficult. This is why the problem exists, is because you cannot take a cookie cutter and just blast it on everybody. You cannot, right? The problem is so diverse. They're in different ranges of mental illness, substance abuse, general poverty, and in different levels, everybody will need different things. Efficiency, utilizing practices and procedures that reduce redundancy in order to provide quicker access to resource and assistance. What we're finding as we work with these outreach groups is that a single homeless individual may have 3 different providers trying to help them, when those 3 providers should be helping 3 people. On the state side and on the city side, they're beginning to have their own collaborations to work that out. But we definitely want to be a part of that process as far as our officers being out there providing the outreach providers information on these homeless people we're encountering. Long term, this is important because this is not a problem that we can solve in a week, because if it could, we would have done it last week and we would have moved on. This is going to take a long time. So creating meaningful interaction that foster trust between the at-risk homeless community and HPD in concert with service providers in order to offer long-term solutions. And this is the big thing to recurring circumstances. You're not mentally ill today and not mentally ill tomorrow, right? You get your medication and you don't take it and it starts to degrade. Same thing with substance abuse, right? You're addicted, maybe you have a setback. They tend to recur, which leads them to be homeless. And I always like this Greek proverb, a society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they shall never sit in, right? So this is not a problem that we're going to happen overnight, but what it is that I appreciate the Chief and the other commanders such as Major Nagata and Captain Young who support this to say that yes, this is the direction we need to take now, and I believe that it'll pay dividends in the future. So partnerships, building professional partnerships with associated services and participants that will benefit all members of the community. So typically before right? We answer calls for service, we answer darts on all those other stuff. And what we're doing is really trying to appease one section of the community. So we're ushering them along, we're giving them citations, right? We're saying, yay, right, we did our job. But really the problem exists. So what we have to do is take it from a different standpoint, and let's try and see if we can help these individuals out so that they're not interfering with the, the operations of businesses, the residential areas. Because for us, to me, it's terrible when the businesses feel negatively impacted that there's a homeless encampment in front of their business. It's terrible when a mother doesn't feel like they can send their child down to the local snack shop out of fear for the homeless that they'll have to encounter. So what we want to do is create a win-win where we're going to help the homeless first, right, with the intent to help the whole community. Because once we start to filter them out into the services and hopefully start to change behavior, that we can start to get a hold of this issue. So again, I like imagery. So by working together and overlaying existing resources, we can create more efficient strategies that benefit all of Honolulu. So basically the Lauhala right on the left, these are all separate agencies. Every now and then we kind of overlap in certain areas, but as you can see, there's a lot of room for things to fall through. Perfect world, right? We're integrated, we're looking at each other. Not only do I know what the person from the left or right of me is doing, I know what the person across from me is doing. And what we're doing is we're just basically trying to coordinate it a little better so that people aren't falling through the cracks. So this is the program format. We have plainclothes officers, and then we have a uniform officer approach. So for the plainclothes officers, this is what the media has been covering, which is where we go out, outreach workers, we canvass Chinatown area for the pilot, and then what we do is we move out to the hot spots. So like Mother Waldron, we went to, that was a hot issue. We went out to Kakako Park and other areas. And what we gotta realize is that when we're dealing with the homeless community, we really have to understand that we're trying to change behavior. So typically, like when we give speeding tickets or when we get people for DUI, it's because we don't want you to speed, it's dangerous. We don't want you to drink or drive because it's dangerous. So we're trying to correct behavior. But when you go out, you go out there and you're just giving away tags, and essentially because for park closure, because they got nowhere to go, how are you really changing that behavior, right? So that's why we have to go out there, plainclothes officers, try to work on what behavioral issues are keeping them homeless. And then we have our uniform officers. We just started to dive into this, where they're being trained on referral options for an individual experiencing homelessness. So all I'm really asking for our D1 guys to do is just ask a simple question. If I bring somebody out here, will you be willing to accept services? And if they are, then what they do is they're gonna call us and coordinate some type of response for that individual. So goal number one, we wanna reduce instances of arrest or MH1 by intervening with at-risk homeless individuals before extreme circumstances exist. So for the action, we need to identify at-risk homeless individuals in a timely manner through information sharing that assists in priority planning. So for example, a few months ago, the elderly lady that was assaulted at the bus stop at a courthouse, right, that's terrible. With a program like this, what I would hope is that that individual that assaulted that old lady would have been identified much earlier. And at mental health 1 is where we say someone's in immediate danger to themselves or others, and we take them to Queens for an assessment. What we're trying to do is partner with Dr. Koyanagi from IHS, who's a community psychiatrist, to see if we can get people on an MH2 based on his clinical opinion and our observations that we will document in MISPUBs and other forms. So that, again, an individual like that who's beginning to ramp up, because we see it, the patrol guys, they see it. They know that this guy's a week away or 2 weeks away from having a blowout, but they haven't met the criteria from a MH1 and they haven't quite broken the law. So what we want to do is intervene, knowing that, seeing the signs, and trying to get the community psychologists aboard a little earlier to see if we can look at other avenues to have them get the help they need prior to having a blowout. Because everybody forgets, with the MH1 and the mental health, right, it's the impact to the individual experiencing their crisis. It's an impact to the community that has to witness that person experiencing the crisis or even the arrest. And what everyone forgets is the impact to the officer that has to deal with that, right? Because we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to, we know this guy or this individual is experiencing something more than just a decision, right? So, everybody forgets the great impact. So if we can reduce these type of extreme MH1 cases, everybody wins. So we also want to reduce the residentially challenged population by placing them into appropriate housing options. So the action for that is to offer and provide services to at-risk homeless individuals in a timely manner through accurate use of resources, meaning we don't just cart them off to some random shelter that they can't get into. What we do is, for example, we ask, are you VA, right? What other things are available to you? And then what we do is we coordinate. So we actually had an individual right on what is that street? River Street. right? It's kind of milling around. So we asked them, we struck up a conversation, and the outreach worker was able to determine that they were VA. And luckily, again, because of Major Nagata and Captain Young's support, we said that, you know what, let's go ahead and give courtesy transports. If they're willing to take it, let's take them there now. That individual has been there for 3 months now and he's doing great, right? So for every individual that we take off the street, for me, we win twice, because it's one person that's less likely to commit a crime or be involved in a crime. It's also one less person who's going to likely to be a victim of a crime. So we win twice for every one person we help. So the goal 3, train new and existing officers on accurate referral strategies that are delivered in a manner that build trust between the at-risk community and HPD. So this is where we have to provide training to our personnel on social service options and create strategies to improve interactions. Even for me, the first time we went out, right, I'm still in Terminator mode, right? I'm still just, in this position and, looking for every which way, like what crime did this guy commit? And I really had to break down that programming so that I could interact. And it's been nice. It's actually been refreshing to have these, conversations with these individuals. And it's great when they actually accept the service. So again, the final goal is to improve on information sharing. This is going to be the biggie between various service providers in order to reduce redundancy so that more people can be assisted at any one point in time. So we either need to create an online accessible database to improve tracking of at-risk individuals or find a software that already exists. I know you guys are pressed for time. I do have a 2-minute clip of some of the software, one of the software options. So for example, New York City is using Street Smart, which is a proprietary government application that basically allows multiple agencies to input information on a single individual. The one that I have a clip on is West Sacramento's Appledore. Fortunately, through these partnerships, we actually, our Catholic Charities has offered us an opportunity to participate in the iReach application, which is set to launch in January. So we're really going to have to see options into how technology can help us keep in touch. Basically how it works is it's almost like a Yelp for people. So I can go ahead and tag Mike Lambert, right? I encountered him at Mother Waldron Park, today's date at 4 o'clock. Now, it goes into the, and I'll ask Mike Lambert, so who are you working with? I'm working with IHS. Do you know your outreach provider? Right? No, I don't. Okay, but I'm still gonna tag IHS, and IHS is gonna get a notice, right, whenever they check that they encountered Mike Lambert at Mother Waldron. The biggest downfall that outreach is having, and prior to this program where we kind of butt heads, was that anytime somebody was in line for services and we come up with heavy enforcement, they're dispersed. And a lot of the services only have like a 30-day window of vouchers. So no, they got 30 days to get this person to accept the service, or it goes to the next person. So we're still gonna do our enforcement, that's on the books. But what we're gonna do is provide more information so that they're in tune with where the people went afterwards. So kind of, but then we have to have a way to do that. Right now we do it on H.E.L.P. It's working for the pilot, but once we start to expand, we're gonna have to really look at other options. So some of the indicators that I'm judging this project by is a reduction in recidivism, or chronic arrest, either in H1. So we would consider our frequent flyers, or what other people would refer to as hyper-utilizers, meaning that they use Queens a lot, they get arrested a lot. Right? So if we can reduce those type of instances, that'll be a W. Reduction in RCP in the downtown area and based on point in time count. So the state does theirs late January or sometime. And then, like I said, if we can start to, at least in the populace of the pilot areas, show a reduction, and again, we can account for it through our number of RCP that we were housed, our residentially challenged. And again, the number of, and some of the 4 and 5 is officers trained, right? The more officers we have trained, the better opportunity we have to get people into the services they need. This is a huggy-feely one, but I think it's the most important of all. It's number of meaningful interactions. The meaningful interaction is just, I didn't go, hey, Chief, bye, how are you? You want to go somewhere? No, right? I actually stop. Hey, what's your first name? Who are you working with? What keeps you out here, right? So I'm either gonna give information, meaning that IHS is right up the street. That Khalid Palama can help you with your ID, right? I'm gonna give that's a meaningful interaction where information was really exchanged. Even if she doesn't accept anything, as long as she provided me with something, I can document, okay, she's working with IHS, she's working with so-and-so, and what I can do is later on, I can go send an email to that individual saying, I encountered her, and this is the situation that they're currently in. So, I don't know if you guys watched that special Prescribing Homelessness. Yes. So, I think one of them was nearly 300 interactions, right, before they were able to finally get them. So the thing is, the more we're out there, the more successful we can be, the more we increase our ability to help other people. So this is a snapshot of what the pilot's done so far. So they're not ground breaking statistics, but what they do is they show that the homeless population is willing to accept services from the police department, which a lot of the outreach providers initially were like, I don't think they're gonna go with you guys. But they've been jumping in blue and white, and we've been taking them where they need to go.
That's really
So in 30 hours, so less than a week than work, or for less than a week of work, we're able to identify 63 individuals in our target area. Meaningful interactions is because, the reason why the meaningful actions are higher is because we actually went back and checked on those individuals.
That's cool.
So we actually went out and that meaningful interactions is actually up. So that's how you build the trust. We're out successive, right? We have these little sheets, so I know even if I didn't deal, let's say with Chief Grams today, right? He's on my list, right? Hey, the last time they came and checked you, you're supposed to go down and get your bandage changed. Did you go do that? Yeah, I did. And then they're looking at you like, how did you know that? Right? And that's where you start to build that relationship of caring, and these guys actually understand what I'm going through. Okay, so, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Okay, so this is my proposed structure. So, H.E.L.P program administrator, I kind of dug my hole for that. HPD, the H.E.L.P team, so it'd be 1 sergeant and 2 officers. The reason why it has to be dedicated is because we're talking an island-wide facilitation. Because staffing is always an issue. D1 community policing team could be the H.E.L.P team to start it off. Each CPT, each community policing district would need to assign a liaison, so that what happens is when a patrol officer encounters someone, and again, ask a simple question. If I get somebody out here to help you out, would you accept the services? If they say yes, you're gonna make a call to the district liaison, who should, in theory, have contact with the area outreach provider. And again, right, our officers, the liaison would relieve that patrol officer from that call so that they can go back assisting the community, and the liaison can try and work with that homeless individual. So this is how we build a partnership, because if they're only helping us, right, what is the buy-in for them, right? What are they getting in return? So how it works is this is how providers help us, right? Officer encounters a residentially challenged person, right? They're willing to accept services. The officer notifies the district liaison responds and coordinates with the area service provider, right, to provide this person with the services they're requesting. This is how we help them. Area provider, and this is common, and we already helped on several occasions where they're looking for an individual because either they've strayed away from their medications, they missed an appointment, or there's housing available to them. So what happens is they say, hey, we're looking for so-and-so. What happens is that they give that information to their district liaison. The district liaison provides that to the patrol units, and if patrol encounters them throughout their shift, they notify their liaison. Now, there's hundreds of people out there, so in the beginning, this list should only be 5 or 10 priority for the area. Because if we make a list 100 people long, nobody's gonna look at it. But at 5 or 10 people, I believe officers would kind of like, okay, oh, right, this guy's on my list, and then they'll call.
It's doable.
Okay, so some of the things, and again, I can't give enough credit to Major Nagata for backing us and letting go of this, is that we actually have office space next to Chinatown. It was utilized for APEC as storage, but what happened was we didn't even really, we were utilizing it, and the city was saying, what are you guys gonna do with those office spaces? So it was one of those kind of happened things. So I told Major Nagata, I said, hey, would it be cool if we turned it into a joint outreach center, and have really show that we're committed to the agencies that are helping us, give them office space in Chinatown so that they can help the people in the area. I also want to propose in there to the left, so there's 2 office spaces. One would be the outreach center where they can fill out paperwork, they can check on their status of housing, all of that good stuff. I'm trying to get a restroom. There's plumbing for it, so a restroom here. And this would be a wound care center. So the basic stuff where they're not getting their bandages changed and whatnot. So I'm actually in discussion with Dr. Wang from H.E.L.P. We just opened up an email chain with Dr. Imoro, and then Dr. Chang from Queens, so that we could actually have its staff, so that at least certain days of the week people can come in. What we're trying to do is create a place where they come, so that we can create the opportunities to offer them services. Because when they're doing their bandages and whatnot, we have a candid person for at least 5 to 10 minutes, where we can, hey, where are you with your services? And even if they shrug it off, fine. At least we try to create that interaction. What I'm trying to do is to create, so we can sustain it, is that if it diverts services from Queens will be very interested in helping us continue that. There's also the H4, which I see this as being kind of like a kiosk for H4, where we'll do wound care and bandages if it's a little higher level, and the doctor says, you know what, H4 can help them out a little better. We'll take them to H4. or worst case scenario, we take them to Queens. But again, just creating these layers of opportunities for us to talk to individuals and get them into the service you provided. So again, I took up a lot of your time. So any questions?
It's
Yes, sir.
Well, up front, I really appreciate your presentation, Lieutenant Lambert. This sounds like a fantastic program. I'm glad to hear that the aspiration, at least, is that this pilot program be made departmentally wide and cover all 8 districts. As I did once before, could I ask that we get hard copies of the PowerPoint presentation, because I think that'd be really helpful. And just as a point of information, I know what MH1 refers to, and I know that it's statute-based.
Sure.
MH2, I don't know what that entails.
I apologize. So mental health 1, like I said, is law enforcement assessing, calling our psychologist. MH2 is where a non-law enforcement psychologist makes a determination that someone needs to be taken for observation. So like I said, and they can take them at a lot lower level because they're doctors. Versus for us, it has to be that extreme circumstance. So we've actually had several cases where we've coordinated with that doctor to take people in on MH2s and really save a blowout. So that's really been great.
Thank you.
Okay, any other further questions?
Yeah, I do. This is such a great program.
Thank you, sir.
Really, really terrific. I've done a lot of work with IHS.
And a great organization.
One question I had, do you see this evolving to actually a department, you know, like we have traffic and we have homes, except do you see this evolving to something like that? Or will this be, you know, generally everybody's trained on the different things that you were talking about and moving forward that way? How do you see this?
Well, it would depend on, what the chief decides, but ultimately what I think is to start, it has to be a small core group of highly trained officers. Mm-hmm. And in time, if you gave me the blank check question, what would I do with it? I would like to integrate it at the training level so that when officers are coming off the road, they already know how to make referrals. But like I said, up to the chief.
Terrific job and great effort.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Really good.
I second that. Maybe at some point toward the, later of the year, we can get an update.
Sure,
and see what we've learned and maybe some best practice that can come from it that we can share also with the other agencies. What kind of investment, I have a call too, from a technology point of view, I think the tracking of the individuals and get them into a shared database throughout the agencies here can be, that is just huge in terms of efficiency. What kind of help
So
do you need
right
there?
now, there are systems. So for example, there's the HMIS, which is a Homeless Management Information System put
Right.
on by HUD. But typically,
Oh.
law enforcement has not been granted access to it for fear of us misusing it. And not
I
HPD,
see.
just law enforcement in general. So basically, what we're trying to do is find an app that respects the HMIS, so we can't see into it, but allows us to input information for them.
I
So we're looking at, for a pilot app, if you're talking cost, we're talking about $55,000 would be for the 1-year service.
Oh, good.
And I think I want to say about 100 users to start, because of course, just like we dealt with the cams, it's storage and all that, and safety and
tools
all
you
that stuff.
need, otherwise
Yeah,
you
but it'd be
can't.
great because having real-time data
Right,
and having
right.
to make real-time alerts, is huge, right? Because what happens is there's a delay. So now, let's say I encounter an individual who wants
Right.
help, I'm actually emailing them, and then they're going out, but there's been about an 8 to 10 hour delay, and now they're not there anymore.
Right.
I know this is pretty new, but how many people are you finding that actually want help? What percentage are you?
If I had to throw out a percentage, based on our meaningful interactions and help, it'd be like less than 10%. And that's just basically on a single interaction. So, what we have to do is create multiple opportunities, right? Really start to say, because really what you gotta do is you gotta catch them on the right day. Right before it's raining, perfect, right? That kind of stuff. You just gotta be a little strategic on when you offer these services. If you guys have 2 minutes, I can show you kind of what West Sacramento has going on.
I'd like to see it,
Yeah,
don't you?
sure.
It's just
Go
a
for it.
2-minute.
This
it's
is
just a
really
2-minute clip.
important, yeah.
While you're doing that, I have a quick question.
Sure, sir.
When are you planning to start?
They've actually started already.
Oh, they started?
I'm sorry,
in
we started in
District
May.
one.
In
Yeah.
May?
Yeah, that's right.
When that
Yeah.
actually should be the question.
Yeah.
When is the start of this? So it was this past May?
It's been the pilot in District 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And,
Has it moved to something more than a pilot
I
at this
appreciate
point?
that. We'd like to, with the chief's blessing, and we've already in discussion with Waikiki District 6 and District 5. So we actually have a meeting next Wednesday on the 10th to discuss how the expansion would look. Because what I don't want to do is go island-wide at once, and then I can't control how the connections are being made.
Yes.
So what I want to do is I want to go, to our brothers and sisters to left and right, really make sure that they understand how this project is supposed to look and help them build the connections by district. And like I said, not trying to be a control freak, but I really want to
No.
control the consistency of the officers that are
That-
participating in it, especially during the
Exactly.
expansion.
Yeah,
I think that's really
I
very-
like Commissioner
very
Chang, look
wise.
forward to an update.
What? No, I think your approach is very wise because in a way it is go slow to go fast.
Correct.
If you go so fast,
Yeah, yeah.
the quality and
Suffers.
customer service, all of that,
Yeah.
it may suffer. But I really applaud this homeless situation. It just takes
Yeah, it's
Havoc
tough.
for everybody. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
takes all of us to. But it's really great. Thank you.
Okay,
but
go
we'll
for
see
it.
So you guys
take a
can,
look at
Sacramento is tackling its homelessness issue with an innovative approach. The city has now partnered with 2 engineers out of the Bay Area to launch an app that is meant to be a game changer when it comes to how the city directs services to those in need.
New tonight, CBS 13 Sharon Roger joins us live now in West Sacramento. And she has more now on this program for us. Sharon.
Sam and Adrian, the app is called Apple Door and it's been in use since February. West Sacramento is actually the first city in our region to launch this program, and city leaders say the success
Need to
they've
track
seen
them.
just in the last 3 months is impressive.
But we do have resources out in the field, and we're not using them cost effectively, and we're not using them to their maximum potential. So this will help us.
West Sacramento Mayor Christopher Cavalden says there are resources to help the city's homeless, from police to county social workers and mental health workers, but getting these agencies to communicate effectively has been a challenge.
Folks are going out to a camp and the next person can't find it, or they don't know that somebody's already diagnosed with an opioid problem in that camp.
Now, with the help of 2 Bay Area engineers who actually came here and studied the deficiencies in the day-to-day work, Apple Door was developed.
I think it is very beneficial and it's innovative. This is just the beginning.
Sergeant Roger Kinney says through the app you can drop a pin on a certain area identifying the exact location of a homeless camp. Then information about the specific needs of each homeless individual can be gathered and shared with the right resource immediately.
It's bring them services instead of having them come into a building and feeling uncomfortable and things like that.
Any services that we can, provide for them that they can have easier access to, I'm all for that.
The police department says they want to make clear that this is not an enforcement tool.
It's not a law enforcement program. It's not for us to go out and arrest these folks. That's not what the program's designed for.
And while Apple Door won't solve West Sacramento's homelessness issue, once fully implemented, it can be a breakthrough in how the city gets services to the needy. So it's a new app, it's new use here in the city, but it has a lot of potential. And they say since it's launched, the police department's homeless services coordinator has been able to help at least 65 people.
As cities throughout Northern California struggle with the homelessness issue.
So 3 months, 65 people, I'll take that, right?
Yeah.
That's
very good.
So, again, right, that's where police, we share information, right? So for example, we go to the camp, we see they have 2 dogs, you have mental illness, you have substance abuse, right? What happens is now when outreach teams go out, they're gonna bring out Humane Society, they're gonna bring up substance abuse counselor, they're gonna bring a mental illness counselor, because that's what the camp is gonna have. Versus now what happens, they go out, they're not prepared, and then they go back. So, what we do is we basically can make it a little cleaner on their part.
That's great. Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Yeah.